Sometimes when we gather to say goodbye to a loved one, we do so overwhelmed with sorrow and sadness. For sometimes death takes us completely by surprise. We're blindsided. Sometimes we die too young. Neither is really true today. Although Mary's death didn't completely surprise us, still our hearts break. And there will always be a big void in our lives. It's hard to imagine a world, a family, a church without Mary Flinn. The thought of never seeing that smile, the twinkle in her eyes, never hearing that voice of hers, voice that radiated love and kindness. Certainly those things bring a tear to our eyes. There are so many things we're going to miss. But how lucky were we to know and love Mary Fisher Flinn. I met with Walt and Kathy a number of times since Mary died, and every single time, one of us started a sentence. We couldn't finish it. Pool of water gathered in our eyes. Our voices quivered with emotion. Mary Flinn was the real deal. A wonderful, extraordinary person. And the more I learned about her, the more I was amazed. Mary was never one to toot her own horn, but she would certainly be on the very short list of the most important people in this church. And the same could be said of lots of other organizations in the Lakes region, New Hampshire, Massachusetts. Her life made a difference. And closer to home, closer to our own hearts, Mary is certainly on the short list of the most important people in our lives. She lived a wonderful life, a life filled with wonder and love and adventure. It was seasoned by so many good things: books and music, friends and family, history and community service. For 92 years, she graced our world with her unique spirit and blessed so many. And so we gather today beckoned by gratitude, thankful for the gift of Mary's life, thankful that we were lucky to call her our friend. Please join me in a word of prayer. So many different thoughts come to mind when we think of Mary. What an amazing life she lived. This morning we hold in our thoughts and our hearts those most touched by her death. Walter and Kathy, David and Skippa, their children, and all of the members of their extended family, and so many dear, precious friends. We cannot pretend to make amends for your loss, but we who are here, and those who are absent but are thinking of you, can offer you the continuing promise that we shall walk quietly beside you, seeking to understand the depth of your loss, offering encouragement and support. And so today we celebrate Mary's life and her spirit, not only who she was, but what her life has meant to us and what it will always mean. Grant that each of us may hold on to shining moments of memory, that we may carry these in our heart as a candle, a companion in our darkness. And so today we will remember Mary as she was long ago and as she was just a month ago. And we hold firm to the conviction that even in times of sadness, there is room for laughter. May we remember that the joy that comes from loving and friendship remains with us. For it is through each of us here that Mary's memory stays alive, that what she stood for, what she believed in will be carried forth. So we remember her smile, her companionship, her passionate spirit, and her awesome love for life. This is our prayer. Amen. Mary Flinn didn't hate a lot of things, but one thing she hated was the new hymnal we have in our church. She loathed the word changes. So today we will sing it as Mary would have sung it. It's printed right here, the traditional words. For the Beauty of the Earth, one of Mary's most favorite hymns. And you want to stand or you want to remain seated? Let's stay seated. I'm kind of tired from standing up this morning.
Invitation by Mary Oliver. Oh, do you have time to linger for just a little while out of your busy and very important day for the goldfinches that have gathered in a field of thistles for a musical battle to see who can sing the highest note or the lowest, or the most expressive of mirth or the most tender? Their strong, blunt beaks drink the air as they strive melodiously, not for your sake or for mine, and not for the sake of winning, but for the sheer delight and gratitude. Believe us, they say. It is a serious thing just to be alive on this fresh morning in this broken world. I beg of you, do not walk by without pausing to attend to this rather ridiculous performance. It could mean something. It could mean everything. It could be what Rilke meant when he wrote, "You must change your life."
I have the honor of being on the membership committee that Mary Flinn was on when we came here, and nobody welcomed new members better than Mary. With great enthusiasm and a huge smile on her face. And I feel so happy that I got to be welcomed by her and others, but it was just so special, and I'll never forget that, and I'm just so grateful for her life.
And Kathy wanted me to share that this piece, Dona Nobis Pacem, was a piece that her mom and a neighbor's mom taught and sang with their kids and their neighbor kids while carpooling from Reading to North Andover to watch their dad's softball games at Western Electric. And as a music educator, there's nothing better than a mom singing with their kids. So, Dona Nobis Pacem.
Dona nobis pacem, pacem. Dona nobis 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 pacem, pacem. Dona nobis pacem. Dona pacem, pacem. Dona nobis pacem.
Dona nobis pacem, pacem. Dona nobis 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 pacem.
Thank you, AJ and Cindy and Will. That was beautiful. When I met with Walter and Kathy, we decided rather than having a number of family members come forward and share their thoughts, they'd share them with me, and then I'd speak on their behalf. And here's a bit of what Walter shared. Within 2 days, it will be 70 years and 5 months ago that I married my college sweetheart. At our wedding reception, an old lady, I guess in her mid-60s, came through the reception line, introduced herself as Helen Spriggs, Mary's 4th grade teacher. She said to me, "I'll bet you don't know how lucky you are." My response was less than appropriate to this stranger when I said something like, "You probably don't know how lucky she is." Mary never found it appropriate to share with others her many accomplishments in her community throughout her life, but was never shy to share her pride and love in telling you about her children and her grandchildren, their spouses, and their accomplishments. And of course, wonderful great-granddaughter Evelyn, she was so proud of all of you. And she would have been thrilled and so excited to meet her great-grandson, Wyatt Henry Flinn, born just a few hours before she died. I found the draft of a sympathy. I gotta say sympathy later. She sent to a dear friend 12 years ago, and I wanted to share it with you because what she wrote seems so appropriate as we remember her. Losing a parent, the one who has been a pillar of strength for all of us, is particularly difficult. I lost my mother when I was 42, a long time ago, and I still have pangs of sorrow as well as joy when I think of her. I saved a card from a friend that a friend sent to me. The message which appealed to me then and now is that the life of a mother lives on through the generations, through her children, grandchildren, and beyond. We will remember Mary Fisher Flinn for her passion for life and the love and caring she gave us without reservation. She will live on through us. Helen Spring was so right more than 70 years ago. I didn't know how lucky I was. Or how lucky we would all be to have Mary, Mom, Nana in our lives. Thanks, Walter. Thank you. It's hard to know where to begin. Probably the best place is family. Despite her many passions, her many loves, family was always her first priority. Life blessed Mary with wonderful parents, not perfect, but perfect isn't the recipe for a good life anyway. Her family laid the foundation upon which Mary built her life. Mary was a gifted letter writer. Many of you probably were lucky to receive one of those literary treasures. I don't think she ever emailed, but if you got a letter from Mary Flinn, count yourself lucky. In a letter to David, which is so beautiful, she shares a lot of things about life, but notes of her parents that the greatest gift they gave me, she said, the greatest gift they gave me was their unreserved, all-abiding love. There has never been a single moment in my life when I did not feel absolutely sure of their love. When life gifts you with parents who love you without measure or condition, you start on third base. And the love she received, something the Red Sox haven't seen much of. The love she received was shared with so many throughout her life, especially with Walter and her 3 children, their spouses and their children. I'm sure all of you would say there was never a single day in your life when you doubted your mom's love, your grandma's love. How much better would the world be if every child had a mom who loved them as ferociously as Mary Flinn loved her kids? Now, I knew Mary was a serious tennis player, but I was fascinated to discover that she made the men's team at Grinnell College, and by the time she graduated, they had formed a ladies' team, probably because Mary was beating too many of the men. But the more I learned, the more I discovered, the more I was left wondering, was there anything she couldn't do if she put her mind to it? Now, wouldn't it be nice, too, if we lived in a world where mom or dad could eat lunch with their kids every day when they came home for lunch from school? But that's exactly what your mom did. Every day she fed you a nice lunch, and then she fed your minds by reading something from a chapter book. Mary had a special place in her heart for all of the kids in the neighborhood. The Flinn house was always the most welcoming and warm house. How many of your friends secretly wish that Mary Flinn was their mom? Dozens of kids would call Mary Flinn their second mom. When your kids have kids, be the best supportive Nana a grandchild could ever have. Cressley shared some thoughts for all of Mary's grandchildren. She loved the 4th of July, so make sure 4th of July next year you celebrate it like she did. And then Cressley shared that she always made salmon, peas, and mashed potatoes. Not exactly my idea for a good meal. But she said that when she moved to New England, she was told that this was a traditional New England 4th of July meal. Then Cressley noted, it seemed like ours was the only family that celebrated the 4th this way. However, I recently came across the meal in an old L.L. Bean New England cookbook. Nana was right. Was there ever a doubt? Here are a few other things that Cressley passed on, real gems. Always, you might want to write these down, always use good vanilla. Love friends and family fiercely. Don't buy cheap things, but seek out a good deal. Pink lipstick. I picture her in her yellow and blue kitchen on Varney Point. She always made your favorite cookies if she knew you were coming to visit, and kept them in her presidential tin. And then she could name all of the presidents in order, and once won a radio contest for doing that. I got Washington, and then I jumped to Biden. She loved a good book. She used a wall calendar as a date book, and it was always filled with activities. She had little notes for all of her ornaments, of which there were many, and could remember where each and every one came from, as well as who gave it to her. And then when you teach your kids the days of the week, or your grandkids the days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, make sure there's always one day set aside for Nana Day. Mary Flinn had her priorities in order, and family was always on top of that list. But in that big heart of hers, there was room for more than just family and friends. She had a huge heart for strangers and immigrants and foreigners. Imagine that. A foreigner, someone not to be feared or demonized, but welcomed and embraced, and then Mary would empower them to live well in their new country, their new home. So share those stories about your mom teaching English to a lady who recently arrived from Haiti, and her husband, Roberto, too proud to learn English from her, but always stood at the doorway trying to pick up English lessons from Mary. Or then there was Sarah from Peru, who lived with the Flinns while she began her life here. She was, according to Walter, a hot ticket. And Sarah certainly spiced up the Flinn compound while she stayed with them. Giving back was just her way of life, something she passed on to her kids, taking you along with her when she visited people in a nursing home. She was probably the best sermon you ever saw. She let her life do the talking, helping so many people over the years in so many different ways. But one of the most important things Mary did as a young lady was working for the League of Women's Voters. Imagine working so more people can vote, not trying to disenfranchise people. I hope everyone here had the opportunity to do a tour of Shaker Village. When you go downstairs, there's a wonderful video of her doing that. But Mary was, without doubt, the very best tour guide that we ever experienced. For Cindy and me, it remains one of the most exciting, most moving experiences of our lives. as we walked around listening to Mary tell us the story of Shaker Village. And then right here in the Guilford Community Church, the difference she made was remarkable, serving in so many ways, and as Cindy said, unofficially welcoming so many people. Mary Flinn was the first person many people met. No wonder they came back a second or third time. And then next door, the village Knowles. Mary worked hard to make affordable senior housing a reality right here in the village. And she was a gifted fundraiser. She was never afraid to make an ask for something she believed in. And whenever she asked something of you, she was always willing, and Walter was willing to do whatever she asked of you to do. And although her life, like a lot of lives, was seasoned by some hardships, she always had a smile on her face and an optimistic can-do spirit. Challenges weren't to be feared or avoided, but faced head-on, drawing on the many resources she acquired throughout her long, loving life. She was the CEO of her life and recognized the tremendous power that comes when you believe in yourself and trust others. And if I had more time, I'd talk about her commitment to the New Hampshire Music Festival. She was passionate about music. And the postlude that we'll play for us, Invention No. 1 by Bach, was a piece that Mary often played at home on her piano. So maybe sometime real soon, get on a bus, go to Boston and spend an afternoon listening to the beautiful music down there. Or come next summer and you're on the lake in your boat, close your eyes and see Mary with the wind in her hair and maybe pink lipstick on her lips. Big smile on that face, because it doesn't get any better than a day on the lake with the people you love. And then when winter comes and you hit the mountain, always take a moment to remember Mom and Dad and the years you skied together. And if you ever see a pink mobile home, remember the one Mary bought in Belmont so they could begin to live up here on the weekends. And if you are really courageous, make arrangements to spend a night or two on top of Mount Washington in the middle of winter. Or when you graduate or your kids graduate from college, let them spend a month or two touring, exploring around Europe. And then every time someone comes to visit, take them down to Boston to the Freedom Trail. Wouldn't the world be a better place? Wouldn't this be a better country if we had Mary's love for history? She loved history but refused to live in the past, fully embracing the present. And so, Mary Fisher Flinn, we simply say, thank you for your long, loving life. Amen. Are there others who would like to share a thought or memory? Oh, I know there's some good stories here. Come. Oh, awesome.
As a high schooler, I was working at Fratello's, and Cressley and I had band every morning, first period, and I said one Monday, hey, I saw your grandma at Fratello's, and Cressley said, oh, I'm sure because the piano player was there, and AJ, she knows every word to every song. And that's always just stayed in my heart, so that's one of my goals in life.
Awesome. Thanks, AJ. Other stories? What is going on here? Oh, awesome.
Well, I haven't been here in this church for too awful long, but long enough to know Mary, and she's such a sweetheart. And I am the chairman of the flower committee. That's not a big thing, except that Mary Flinn, you could not say no to. They were trying to get me to be the the chair, and I said, no, that's fine. I'd just rather be a worker bee on the committee, and, you know, I'm fine there. I probably received 3 to 4 phone calls from Miss Mary. And as you can see, she got her way. I could not refuse her any longer, and I will always remember that sweet little voice over the phone saying, now, I know you do a wonderful job, and you know, and you can't say no to Mary. I just love that memory.
Thanks. Doris.
Walk all the way around. I served on the, in fact, I'm still serving as a trustee for Guilford Village Knolls, and Mary and I worked very, very hard trying to put this together. When Ray Wixon came up with the suggestion that perhaps it would be good to have some kind of housing for seniors who just couldn't keep their own home anymore, but didn't want to leave. They wanted to be part of this village. And it was hard work because there were a lot of people, including federal government, that weren't quite sure that that's what should happen. I think one of the proudest things that both Mary and I excuse me, will have accomplished in this world was hoping that we finally got Guilford Village Knolls so that we could help seniors to stay here in the village where they wanted to be. Mary was our treasurer, and so we never really had a treasurer's report. It was always Mary's money. Okay, Mary, tell us about your money. And she did a very, very good job. There was never a penny that we didn't know exactly where it went and what it was for. But I think it just makes me very proud to have been part of that with her. She's a great gal.
Yes, she was, and they're going to name a room over in the Village Knolls on Mary's behalf. Anyone else? Awesome.
Mary, I'm Joel Glenn Wixon, and just wanted to say a little bit about how much the Flinns meant to our family as we kind of grew up here. Mary Flinn was one of our moms, as was Doris McCaffey. And we so much appreciated having, this is the village that raised us, and she was very much a part of that, as was Walter, who became kind of a dad for us when Ray passed. And we're just very grateful for I'm speaking for everyone, I hope that's okay. Grateful for the effect that the Flinns had in our lives. So very sad to see her gone.
Thank you, Joel. I saw a hand over here, too.
I can second what you just said, as Mary, excuse me, would be considered one of my second moms. And what stands out, and I celebrate very often in my heart, when I was a senior in high school and trying to figure out what to do next, it was Mary who went and got me a brochure for Boston College of Art, or I can't remember exactly if that was it. But she believed in what I would eventually evolve to. It took another circle around the moon several times, around the sun, before I became the artist I am in my life. But it was Mary who saw it and supported that before I even knew. She paid attention to us, and I'm just so grateful and not really sad because of that great gratitude. She will always be in my heart.
Thank you.
My husband and I were lucky enough to know Mary and Walter many, many years ago. Both Walter and my husband worked at Western Electric. So we had 4 children at the time. Mary had 3. Mary and Walter had 3. And we had a little place at the lake up in New Hampshire. And they came to visit often. And one of the mornings, Mary was lying back on the beach in a chair, and my little ones, they were all playing by the water. They were throwing rocks up into the air. And unfortunately, when they threw the rocks up in the air, one of them flew back and hit Mary right in the head. Mary, knowing that I'd be very upset and was going to scold the children, she said, "No, Wanda, I was just sitting in the wrong place."
That was me that threw the rock. I was actually thinking of that story. I cannot believe you said that, but Mary Flynn did not hold a grudge, because we used to ski with the family at King Ridge. And I remember it was in the late 60s, but I was complaining about not having a whoopie pie. So my parents would not buy me one, but by the end of the day, there was one on the table, and I'm pretty sure it was Mary Flynn.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I played bridge weekly with Mary for several years. She was very competitive, and I don't need to tell you anymore.
Thank you.
I'm Mary's cousin by marriage, and the first time I met Mary, she lit up the room. She gave me the biggest smile, and I'll never forget the smile she gave me and made me feel welcome to this beautiful family.
Thank you.
I'm one of the lucky ones as well that called Mary my second mother, and I grew up playing dolls with Kathy, but one of the things I remember was at a very young age, I would say, Mary just saw the person in you. It wasn't the kid out there playing, it was all the possibility of who you are. We folded brochures for the League of Women Voters, and we, did things at the Historical Society, but she was always there. And yes, the gift of knocking on the door to play with your friend, and the door would open and she would sing, Katie, every time.
Thank you. Okay, then we'll close the service by singing just a wonderful Shaker tune, Simple Gifts. On behalf of Walter and his family, I thank you not only for your presence here this morning, but all of the love and support you've offered to them. Please join us down in our fellowship hall for some refreshments. There's that video I mentioned of Shaker Village. And two little benedictions today. This was Mary's life motto, I think. Walter shared it with me. Never above you, never below you, always beside you. May each of us aspire to live that way. And then in the spirit of Mary Oliver, we'll leave each other with a question. What will you do with your one wild and precious life? Amen.
Yeah, you bet.